Good morning, world. My name is Thomas T. Canaran, and you are with us at Deliverability Academy 2026, a new season, some familiar faces, some new arrangements, some more happenings in the email world. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Deliverability Academy. Like I said, my name is Thomas T. Canaran, your host, and I've got some amazing favorite folks, as you always hear me talk about. Ladies and gentlemen, first, we're going to start from the top. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, first and foremost, we got Allison Goody, the deliverability advocacy specialist over here at Mailgun. Allison, what is going on?
I am super pumped about today. I'm glad we're all here. It's March, but it's our first one of the new year, and so I'm just really ready to get this started. I did these slides a couple months ago, and they were a labor of love, so I'm pumped for everyone to get to see them today.
Oh, you can definitely tell. It's exciting. Yes, it is March. It is 2026. We're going to blink and it's going to be 2027. So everybody hang on. And ladies and gentlemen, you know him as my long hair brother in arms, my Texan brother and just fellow good friend and colleague and host of Emails Not Dead, our podcast over at Mailgun. You've seen him over host at, I don't think I can give you a longer tribute and intro. You've seen him host at Inbox Expo for Email Industries. Ladies and gentlemen, Jonathan Torres, JT, how's it going, my dude?
Yeah, doing all right. Thank you for that intro. That feels I feel it's too many accolades. I need to tone it down a little bit.
All right, maybe at the end of this webinar, I'll give Allison more accolades. We can make the intros.
I love it. Yes.
Yeah, so love it. Awesome, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, and what are we talking about today? I kind of talked about all these amazing people, but what is AI doing in the inbox? I'm still trying to figure it out, but these amazing experts know what's going on, and it's been a heck of a time trying to kind of re-grasp this concept of AI being in our inbox. We talked about with Al Iverson from Spam Rehouse over on the podcast with Allison and Jonathan Torres. So that was super awesome, and we'll share a link to that later on. But yes, AI an inbox optimization guide for the AI era. I don't think I can say that 5 times fast. But before we move on, I also want to give a massive shout out to our backend team. Massive shout out to M. Blitzstein and Jesus Garcia helping us out in the chat and Q&A section. M dropping amazing blogs and help articles that can go along with some of these amazing tips and tricks for AI inbox optimization. There you go. I'm getting better at it. So massive shout out to them. We couldn't do this without them and everyone on the Mailgun marketing team. So, all right, let's take a look at that agenda, shall we? All right, real quick, gonna run through these before we get to a poll. All right, so welcome to the future. Last time, I don't know if you got to see, but Goody made some amazing art around Back to the Future and now, and I have to give a shout out to her as well for that. So, but yes, the future is now, sort of. So we'll take a look at what's going on currently. The AI inbox is rising. Everything is changing. The landscapes are changing. So we'll take a look at that. Inbox optimization, teaching the machine. Oh, we have to learn how to talk to the machines. Yes. I saw Terminator 2. I remember. User optimization, the part AI can't do. I did see Terminator 2. There's some things AI can't do. We'll cover that as well. And then last and foremost, my favorite part: takeaways, Q&As, and the path forward. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, we want to read the room. So let's read that room, shall we? We're going to run this poll. How much of your 2020 email strategy, how much of your 2026 email strategy is dedicated to beating the AI? All right, let me throw this poll up there. Is it going to be all of it? Just some? AI and everything? Or none? Focus on my subscribers. Let us know in the poll. It should be popping up here in just a moment. And I'll share some of our findings with the folks here. Let me stop sharing. All right, people. So how much of your 2026 email strategy is dedicated to beating the AI? 4 people said all of it. About almost 20 people said just some, AI and everything. 10 people said none. Focus on my subscribers. Ooh, that's good. That's good. Allison, Jonathan, what do y'all think of this so far?
That's some good stuff. It's good insights.
I'm curious now, what if your newsletter subscribers were all just AI bots? Then what? teach you.
Ooh.
That'll be volume 2 for 2026.
Awesome. Good to know, people. Good to know. Good to know. All right. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing that. I'm going to go ahead and close the poll. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for that insight. We always love to know what our viewership is dealing with currently. So stop sharing that. And all right, Allison and JT are going to go ahead and get into the nitty gritty of this stuff. And I'll let Allison take this away.
Yeah, thank you so much for handing that on over. So I think lately people have been talking a lot about AI's entry into the actual inbox, not just helping you create a campaign, but also helping your recipients review campaigns once they arrive into their inboxes. And so here's just a quick highlight overview of what some of those features look like in some of the big 4 major mailbox providers. So Gmail, as I'm sure many of you have heard already, has entered Gemini into the inbox. It's able to do summaries, summarize long threads and conversations. It can prioritize messages for you automatically. No longer are we looking at strictly a time-based inbox. It's going to say, oh, I think this is important based on what you've done before or what I see in this message. And so I'm going to surface that first. Gmail has been offering this for a while, but is now getting more complex options for helping you write drafts to emails based on your prompts. And there are, of course, these suggested one-click contextual responses, which I find are like sadly really good sometimes, where you think like, oh, I'm such an original writer. I'm going to say something so interesting to my mom, and then it predicts exactly what I was going to say to my mom, which is fun in some ways and also a little bit creepy. Yahoo similarly is offering a catch-up. They kind of have gamified their inbox a little bit, where they have these tappable summaries that ask if you want to delete or keep, almost like a swipe left or right kind of a situation. They're also doing a priority inbox where they're telling you what they think is important and offering some quick actions like package tracking, deal recommendations. Outlook has shoved their co-pilot into their inbox and is doing email summaries. Smart scheduling, they're helping optimize meeting times across multiple participants. There we go. And you can actually even chat on your phone with the Outlook app and be like, hey, check my email for me, or what looks good in the inbox, or help me write this reply. And similarly, you can have it triage messages like, hey, draft a reply to the things that look important, or delete the things that I never interact with, just using your natural language. And then Apple is doing some on-device email intelligence, where they are, again, summarizing. I actually have iMessage on my laptop, and it will summarize text messages too. And I adore the text messages because I get very unhinged and lengthy texts from a friend of mine. And so when it puts like her 4 texts into one summary, it's always good, always a good time. Apple is also auto categorizing for you, so they're sorting by relevance, not chronology. And of course, we have to keep in mind the Apple MPP impact. How is that going to affect your open rates, as it has for the past couple of years? And what does that look like once AI gets involved? So those are just some of the features that we're going to be talking about today. JT, you have any experience using any of these features yourself?
But some of them, I think the Apple one is the one that I'm most involved with, because iPhone, I definitely have one. I definitely use. I let it do its thing. I'm very curious to see like what's going on there, and sometimes what it does with the summarization is interesting. I know we're going to get into a lot of those topics, so I won't do any spoilers here, but it is one of those things that is definitely, something that people should watch out for. Just know that it's there, know that it's happening, and then also with Gmail, this has been an evolution. Like, we know that they've been doing things with AI. We know that they've been, machine learning, doing a lot of stuff in the back end. And then as you mentioned, Goody, like the suggested reply stuff, like we've seen an evolution of that too, like where it started off in a very interesting place. And I just wanted to mention that briefly. If you haven't seen the stories of like how all of the predictive text stuff started happening way back in the day, it's a very interesting story. It's a fun read or a fun watch if you're into that kind of stuff. But with the way that the large language models have evolved and what's going on now, you see the evolution of that, but then you can understand a little bit more about like how the impact is on what it's doing for the summarization, what it's doing for gathering information, what it's doing for trying to be our virtual assistant for everybody kind of thing. So just to throw that out there, add a little bit of that from my personal experience and the things that I like to do. And if you're curious, it's always a good thing to see and look. And if you find interest in it, like learn about it, because it all impacts, what's going on this side too.
Yeah, I think Jade in the chat brought up a good point, which is I think I'm of the minority that does not want AI in my messages. And Laura has seconded her and said, I don't think it's just you. And I agree. I think there is probably a lot of people who are going to be like, okay, that was novel for 5 seconds, but I really don't need it. You're like taking up resources, you're taking up time. I now have to look at my inbox twice because you prioritized it for me, got it wrong, and now I have to dig in there myself. And so one thing to keep in mind with a lot of these features is that the user has a lot of control and can turn them off and on. Just like in Gmail, you can say whether you want to do priority promo updates tab, that sort of thing, or turn it off. And just like with tabs, I have a feeling a lot of people are going to end up eventually shutting this off when it gets to be a little bit more trouble than it's worth. It's certainly novel and kind of exciting to, I don't know, I find it embarrassing to talk to an app, but maybe some people who are more on the go than I am are like, hey, Outlook, make me an email. And it's like very rewarding, but I don't personally feel that way, and I have a feeling we're not in the minority. JT, could you walk us through like maybe what this really means for senders? Has the inbox really changed that much, or what do you think?
Some. Yeah, it definitely has. So it's definitely an evolution of it. It's definitely something that has to be considered whenever you're talking about what the inbox means and what it means for you as a sender, and the way that you're doing your emails and trying to grab attention. I think that's always been a challenge. That's definitely something that has that people have had to learn and evolve with, as email is email. It's grown even in this weird way, because it's not something that has gone away ever. It's definitely a thing that's always been here. It's definitely been part of our lives for a very, very long time, and that's collectively as a whole. But the way that more people are utilizing it, more people have optimized toward it. Like everybody here, right? We're all doing email. Like we know that it's important, and we know that people will look for it. So grabbing that attention, doing things that are going to be engaging to your audience, and in particular, because that's going to inform what is happening behind the scenes. So definitely one of those things you want to be paying attention to, that you want to engage your audience. You want to make sure that what you're doing is engaging. And then we have to contend with the almighty and powerful robots that are controlling some of these things behind the scenes. We have our robot overlords, Goody. Like, I know you know this. I know this. We've all, like Thomas, seen Terminator 2, where we're having to do that. We're having to cater a little bit toward that. So it's not an all-out change. It's not an all-out shift. There isn't anything where we're clamoring for everybody to go and change and optimize directly for AI, but there is some nuance there, and we do need to make sure that we're doing that. So paying attention to it, making sure that that's there, and yeah, we want to go deeper into those things. I don't know, Goody, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think one thing that I just wanted to call out on the slide is that, there has been a little bit of the sense of competition where senders, I've even had senders say to me before, like, we want to be at the top of the inbox. And now there is theoretically a way to get to the top of the inbox. These AIs are going to be pulling things out that they find valuable. And I think one lesson that I want folks to take away is that, yes, that competition is maybe getting stiffer, and you're now competing with the summarize button or with the non-chronological inbox. However, the big lesson I think that I want folks to take away today is that this is truly about reaching the people, not just getting through that barrier of the inbox and avoiding the spam folder, but the things that the AI is going to find important are the things that people find important. And, maybe that's all caps free, but maybe it's a little bit more value than that. The way that I kind of think about this, that I have seen so far, is that it seems like there's two paths to the AI inbox. I see it as there's inbox optimization where you're teaching the machine, and there's user optimization where you're trying to delight the human that is using that machine. And so that inbox optimization part where you're teaching the machine are like the technical basics, like authentication, making sure you have your email structured clearly, using that schema markup if it's helpful, and always keep in mind accessibility. Accessibility has gone from not just a best practice, it's a legal requirement. And a lot of the practices that make an email more accessible to machine readers will also make it more accessible to an AI, which is also a machine reader. So I think that's pretty good. And then from the user standpoint, these are the traditional things that many of the people here in chat have talked about, many of us have talked about on the podcast before, is that your goal really as an email sender is to make sure that you reach that human and give them the things that they find important. And so these are just the things that earn you genuine engagement, which are, of course, sending emails people want, which means you need to ask for permission and really only send if you get it. I have worked with some senders in the past who perhaps had an app, and to register for an app, you have to give your email address, and they would say, well, these are our users, so we get to email them. And I'm like, what did you ask if they want to get email from you? And so I think that's a very specific thing that senders should keep in mind, is that permission to send email is a very specific part of interacting with the brand. It's not the same as just placing an order or using the app or whatever. Those people might be your fans, but you still need to get that consent before you try to get into their personal space of that inbox. And their response or lack thereof is kind of the thing that the AI is learning from. And so permission is such a good indicator of future engagement. So that has not gotten any less important in the AI era. I think it's even more important. Separate those mail types if you want them to have separate reputations. You don't have to do that. There are certainly some people who have low volumes or such pristine practices that maybe they don't feel the need to separate the traffic, but that can help you isolate reputation per mail type if you do separate. Make unsubscribing easy. The harder that it is, the easier it is to report mail as spam, because that button's in the same place every time. And just in general, let users control that experience, whether again, that's subscription mechanism, a preference center, not sending so much mail. I think we got a question from a customer yesterday who was like, hey, I'm going to start sending more email. I'm going to send every single day in April. What should I keep in mind? And, my first question is, did people want you to send to them every day in April? If you're not already doing it, is that really something that is good for you and good for them? So anyway, inbox optimization helps you get to the inbox, but that user optimization really helps you stay there over time. JT, would you walk us through some of the trust and reputation steps that are still so critical to getting to the inbox?
Oh yeah, we definitely. This is like a topic that I think never. I get to talk about it every day. I'm going to consider it a privilege, because when it comes to authentication, like, it's so super important that people do it, and that you are making sure that you're getting the right things signed with your email, that you have things, going out and making sure that people know that it's you. And by people, I mean the robots. You need to let the robots know that it's you sending it. So SPF, DKIM, DMARC are all great things that we want to make sure that you're implementing. If you haven't, I know DMARC is the one that everybody kind of hesitates on, like that one that's still being implemented, the one that we've had a lot of changes within the past couple of years that have happened with all the authentication requirements. But make sure you're doing that. Like, it's a very, very big step. It's crucial to start off the journey. And once we get past that, we definitely go into, kind of what you're doing with your users. Really is what I think the next big thing is your recipients, the recipients that are getting your email. How are you treating that base? What are they? How are they behaving with your emails? Like, and I know that that's kind of getting into the next part with the user training stuff. But whenever we're doing where we're looking at it, is there's a technical piece within that to look at complaints, to look at bounces, to look at some of the other things that inform the rest of that. So paying attention to that part of it is definitely a big deal. And I don't want to get too much into the weeds, because that can go into a much longer conversation. But you got to pay attention to that. You got to have those technical pieces that I think a lot of it is having to do with tracking and having to do with really looking at the data that's coming back at you as the feedback that's coming back from that. And that really will inform the reputation. It's not enough to create a separation, because of the last point there, like, everybody authenticates. There's people who do very well. I've seen, definitely have known of people that are doing, some not so great things within email, people that have just curated the rest of this, like, know and kind of game the system, and they're doing the same thing. So how do we stand above that? How do we make sure that we're doing our things when we're trying to do it the right way? So there's things that they will not do in that space, and I think a lot of that is going to be on this user section. Once we kind of get into that portion of it, but you have to make sure you're doing these groundwork things, because these groundwork things are what everybody can do, and a lot of people will do. So it's a good time. Authenticate, please. I'll leave it there.
Please do it. Yeah, I think to quote one of our experts, who I'm very flattered has joined today, Laura Atkins, who's in the chat. She has a really good quote that is basically authentication helps you get the deliverability you deserve. And so it's not that it's this fast pass to the inbox or, anything that on its own gives you a good reputation, but it does at least help those mailbox providers align your identity and know who you are to assign that to you. And so it's not going to save your bacon if you're not a good sender to begin with, but it's certainly something that you will need if you want to become one. And someone's comment in the chat was saying, I can't believe that we're still talking about this. We were doing this back in 2010, and like, hey, we're with you. I don't even think I was working in email in 2010. I was probably selling pancakes or something. And so I think it's interesting because to some of us, these are things like, oh my God, I've talked about this so much. But there's new people all the time. They're born every day, and then they grow up and become people who send emails, and they don't know what to do. To us, it's table stakes, and it's just something that's like part of the background, the wallpaper, but they've literally never heard of it before. And so it can get frustrating, and I'm sure it's even more frustrating for the mailbox providers to think, oh my God, we've been talking about this for so long. But everyone wasn't there at that time, and so we have to keep reminding them over and over.
Keep doing it.
Yeah, a little bit more about the technical bits that help. I think one thing that's important is to give the AI very clear signals. You are trying to reach the people, but the AI is not a person. And so they do need some of those technical things taken care of. That's, again, the authentication, using clear structure, using schema markup. If you're doing events or orders or reservations, it's not necessarily required. Some of my examples coming up, there was no schema involved. There was no special language. Gmail was just doing its own thing and pulling it out, but it never hurts to give the machines a little bit more to work with. Again, accessibility is a big part of that. Keep in mind that, you may want to put things that are very important near the top, depending on, how the summaries get pulled. All that is proprietary. We don't have the formula that says, here's what AI is specifically looking at. And so it's just your job to be very clear when you're building these messages. So these practices help the AI understand, but they don't control where it goes. That actually gets determined by your user behavior. So here is a little bit of the schema markup. I won't go super deep into this, but we will share the slides afterwards. But just at a high level, the schema is more of a guidebook. It's not a GPS. It helps reduce the guesswork, but you should still understand the limits. So this is just a quick little breakdown of helping your email get to the path of the inbox. And, oh, sorry, JT, I talked too much. I was going to let you talk, and then I just kept going. So anyway, here is an example from my actual email, which was pretty interesting. And this is, again, why inbox optimization isn't everything, but it does help sometimes your users interact with your mail. I also think, when we talked to Al Iverson on the podcast, he was saying, learn from newsletter writers. If your message can be summarized into just 1 or 2 lines, you might be having a bad time. What if there's not enough value, that people are just not interested in that? You want to create some reason for them to open more. And so I think this is one of those things that kind of convinces people to open more. I already knew who these people were. I knew I was expecting an order. And so basically what happened was I had ordered some shoes, not for the first or last time. I think I just got a pair this week. But the authentication passed. Gmail's AI extracted the order number, product, the delivery date. It still landed in the spam folder, though, even though this was an order I had placed and theoretically had engaged with previously. But because the structure was clear and all of that, I was very easily able to recognize it, move it over to the inbox, and it still surfaced the summary, giving me what my summary was on my shoes, when they were expected to arrive, and all that. And so because I was so able to recognize this brand and wanted it, I reported it as not spam and moved it into the inbox, which is really good for that sender reputation. And so even though they did everything right and made this a very clear email, it didn't save them from the spam folder. However, because it was so clear, I was able to recognize it and pull it out and give them a little bit of a reputation boost. Have you seen anything like this on your end, JT? Any of your, I don't know if you're ordering shoes in your spare time, but anything similar?
Yeah, definitely. And it's, thankfully it doesn't happen a lot, but it does happen. It's one of those things where you just, you have to know and understand that that's going to be a thing. I think me working email, knowing that that's a thing, great. There's people that I know in my life that know that I work in email that still come to me with these complaints and be like, why did this happen? It's like, I don't know. Did you look for it in the spam folder? Did you click, this is not spam, like to help out this really cool brand that you're wanting to get stuff from. And it's a collective thing, but I've definitely seen that where it's happened. And, not everybody knows to do it. So I think it's also helpful to think about it outside of this, of the email, letting your customers know what's going to happen, make sure that they understand that this is going to happen. I recently just had one that I missed an email on because I didn't know that I was going to get an email. And, I'm not going to talk about who it was, but they didn't tell me, it was like, hey, this confirming this is your thing. Yes, that's my thing. Cool. You're good to go. And come to find out, a day and a half later, it's like, hey, like there's an email sitting there that I had no idea that was supposed to be coming to me. And that's hurtful. So like, really communicate to your audience, know who they are, know what the kind of thing you're going to do afterwards and prepared with after the fact, so that they have the ability to do that, because not everybody's email people. So they're not all weirdos like us here on the, on the webinar.
Yeah. You bring up a good point, which goes back to that permission angle, which is one of my favorite things to talk about. But if people don't know to expect an email from you, they're not going to know to check for it. Some of us are just living and dying in our inbox and check the spam folder every day, but a lot of people don't. A lot of people do trust that filtering. And so since you didn't know that was coming and you miss it, I think that's a really good reason to be a clearer communicator from the very jump and just let people know what to expect. On kind of a different angle, this is another example from my own inbox. I am a bit of a DoorDash addict. Working from home makes it so I don't leave the house that often. And I had ordered a turkey bacon sandwich and it was delicious when it arrived. However, I placed the order on August 27th and Gmail in my inbox told me it was expected on August 26th. And while I love to fantasize about past me receiving a mysterious sandwich that she has not yet ordered, that was not accurate. And everything that was visible in the email had the correct date. And so this was just Gmail guessing and getting it wrong. And so I think it's a really good example, again, to show that because this was something I was anticipating, I knew it was coming, even though maybe it came in the past, I knew to check for that email and I knew to dig deeper. I knew to look at the actual date on the email, not just trust what Gmail had said. So, again, this goes back to some of that reputation stuff. If people really do want to hear from you and they look forward to getting your emails and they know to expect them, they're going to overlook some of the mistakes that the AI makes because they know that you didn't do anything wrong. The AI is just doing its little best, but they still trust you as the sender. And I really do want to talk about user optimization, which is the part that the AI can't do. This is thinking like a human for a human. So go for it, JT. Tell us a little bit about how you can teach the AI that you want to reach the people.
Yeah. We've said it. It's already been said a million times here today. And will continue to be said. You got to get permission to send. Like it's one of those things that I think this is part of the AI evolution in the way that it's helping. We can tell from data that all the inbox providers have wanted to find a way to determine whether people want the emails that are being sent to them, whether there was permission given to send those emails. AI is just helping out with that whole concept, that whole progression of people wanting to do that, of these companies wanting to figure out to make sure their prerogative, like the big email inbox providers, they're looking for ways to protect their user base from getting unwanted messages, way to protect themselves and their user base from being abused or communicated in the wrong way. So this is one of those things that's like just so huge, and why we talk about it so much and why it's the top of this list. You got to get that permission to do it. Writing emails, like can it be summarized? Like, are you looking at stuff that's in there that's not right? I going to cautiously talk about some situations that we've seen where we know that there are can spam in the US we talk about a lot. That is a thing that you can follow and kind of follow the rules and kind of set yourself up to obey the law. There's other laws across the world that are not exactly the same, and we know that because there was a company that was abusing that a little bit. I'll just call it that way. Again, treading lightly. And they were, making transactional email messages that had ads in there that is against that country's rules. And there was no way for them to unsubscribe. Well, that's one part of it. Then the other part is like, I wonder what the AI summaries were looking at that. So, are they summarizing a receipt email, or are they summarizing an ad that's been tagged onto that receipt email? So, what is it looking at? What's going on within there? And that, goes into the same kind of topics that are continued on here, where you have to make sure that you are doing the right thing for your audience in the right way. So don't hide things, don't try to sneak things in where they're not supposed to be. If you're respecting your audience and you're doing things that you that they want to see from you, like that you want to see yourself from people that are sending to you, like that's exactly what we want to do. So you want to make sure you're giving them the ability to understand your email, first of all, like understand what it is that you're trying to send to them. Usually if you're doing that first, the AI will hopefully pick it up and not tell you you're getting something the day before you actually even ordered it. So there is definitely those parts of it, but then like also the ability to go in there and say like, yes, I want this, no, I don't. How often am I getting something? Is this going to keep me engaged? Am I wanting to do this? One of my favorite bands that I'm not going to talk about who they are again, but I love looking at their stuff, and I love that sometimes I get more highly engaged and I go back in there and say like, yes, email me every day, and then sometimes I don't need this stuff anymore, so I'm like, okay, let me back off, and I'm going to trickle this back down to like once a week. Give me the weekend update. Like I don't need the everyday kind of thing. And doing those kind of things, allowing your user base, your customers to kind of pick and choose what it is, like that's going to help not only with what you're doing and their engagement within the inbox, but then hopefully prevent people from becoming completely disengaged, where now it's a problem for them to be in there. And then if they do not want that anymore, make sure you have the ability for them to unsubscribe in a good way. And sometimes people don't want to unsubscribe, so I don't want to say blanket unsubscribe whenever they're doing that. Like if they that's their only option. Preference centers are great, giving them the ability to do that kind of stuff. You gotta lean into that, where you give them the control and let them feel that, let them know that they have that power to be able to do that and still engage with you and still come back when they want to.
Yeah, I love that. We're getting into Parents' Day season. Mother's Day and Father's Day are coming up in a couple months. And, we're getting ready for that great annual debate again, where some brands send out an email and say, like, please, we know this can be a hard time for you if you lost your mom or whatever. Let us know that you don't want to receive them. And same for Father's Day. And it's kind of funny because even my own mother, who is not herself an email geek, but someone who does interact with email as a regular person, that's a painful thing for her. And she's like, I don't want to hear about how painful it is to talk about my mom. Like, leave me alone. And so I think, again, this goes back to the permission angle and letting people control their own experience. If your brand is the one that sends emails like that around holidays, which it makes sense that you would, ask people at the time of sign up. It's not something very like fresh on their mind. It's not very triggering for them to think about that during that time. And you can just say, I'm not interested in holiday emails. I just want to hear from you about your regular stuff, and maybe even choose those holidays at the time, or just, get a little bit more savvy and maybe don't mention things like that all the time. Maybe see who shopped for Mother's Day last year. I do hope, we're talking about AI just in the inbox, but I really hope that on the sender side, there are some more development and like reaching the right person, because I know that a lot of senders struggle with that. It's very hard to look at your own data sometimes. And I wish people would dig a little bit deeper and think, what have these people told me that they wanted before? Because that's what the AI is doing. That's what the spam filter is doing. It's saying, based on the past interactions, what do I think is going to happen in the future? And so kind of the summary on this one is optimize for actual user behavior, not what you wish they do. Because how many times have we heard, just send one more email, because every time I send email, I make money. But you're not seeing that potential loss of revenue from the people who are like, I just can't stand to hear from you one more time. You're driving me crazy. So, as always, I think the golden rule is ask the human, because again, that's who the machines are learning from. And so the easiest way to know what a person wants is just to listen to the things that they're telling you. Some people think this is not necessary. It's not a legal requirement in the US, but confirmed opt-in is still the gold standard. I honestly have not ever thought of one single time that confirmed opt-in is not the best bet, because what this does is make sure that the email address you've just received is both valid, it receives mail and doesn't bounce, and belongs to the person who actually gave it to you. Because who knows, people make typos all the time. I have typoed my own address before because I have so many of them. Is this one the one with the dot or not the dot? Is it my last name or not my last name? And there's some other Allison Goody who maybe gets emails from me sometimes that I have mistyped, and people might think, oh, she looks engaged, but it's not even me. So confirmed opt-in helps make sure that you're actually contacting the right person. Preference centers, again, that's such a power move to give people the option to control their own subscription. Like JT just said, if your only option is to unsubscribe completely, people have to make that decision. Like, oh my gosh, do I never want to hear from these people again? Or do I want to put up with getting basically a full page ad in my inbox every single day for a dress that I've already bought? It makes it very difficult for people to decide what their affinity for your brand is. And so if you give them a little bit of control, hey, just give me new product updates, or just hit me once a month with whatever your sale is, I think people will see a lot better retention over the long term of those users. Replies do still matter. Replies are a good way to let the mailbox know that this is someone that you like to hear from and are interested in speaking to. And I think this one is kind of missed, but it really helps to regularly audit your own performance, remove those disengaged users if you're seeing them, drag down your deliverability, maybe send them a special offer to try to re-engage them, maybe even review, did they ever confirm opt-in in the first place? Have they interacted with you previously? Because sometimes a disengaged user is temporarily disengaged, and sometimes it turns out they have never engaged with you at all. Any other golden rules you can think of, JT?
No, I think it's perfect. I think the one thing that I would say, like, as you mentioned, is with that confirmed opt-in piece, like, you got to make sure you're hitting the right person. And it kind of falls in line with this audit thing too. Is when you have some engagement, it isn't always the same thing. Somebody engaging can be somebody who's opening up the email and then immediately hitting that delete button. So what is it what are your signals? What can you gather from all your different places? If you have a storefront, if you're running a platform, if you have a product that people are supposed to be using consistently, if you see them drop off and you're still hitting them with the same kind of things, same kind of email campaign that you were hitting before, to kind of do things like what's going on there. Use it all as best you can to perform those regular audits, because in all honesty, it does turn into a little bit of a numbers game. How often are people doing things? How often are people engaging? How often are people doing the right things, and how often are people doing the wrong things? How often are people just deleting? How often are people deleting without opening? Like, if you don't pay attention to that, guess what? The computer's going to know, and the computer's going to weigh those differences and see, are you getting more of the bad ones, or are you getting more of the good ones? And then where is it going to place that for all those recipients that are new to your list, all those recipients that, that maybe haven't been as engaged, that maybe don't look at that exact same type of content. So it is, we do play with that still. Like, it's been a thing that's been around for a very long time, but even more so now when we have the computers, very honed in onto what exactly is going on there, and can really, put up some good numbers for for the companies that are running that, and helping them make those decisions.
Yeah, I'm thinking more about email summaries, because I know that's one that people are really the most nervous about, and I totally get it. It's very nerve-wracking because all that content that you just spent so much time making can get consolidated into one little nugget that may or may not be accurate. And so, as I mentioned earlier, I think it's so important to think about your entire reputation as a brand, the way that you conduct yourself from the time of opt-in to welcome emails to promotions and whatever else you're sending, even transactional messages. Are you demonstrating to the person and the machine that your messages are valuable, of being opened even past a summary? Or if it really is something that can be consolidated into just one or two lines, I mean, if you really are just having a sale and you're letting people know, hey, today is 20% off and it's just today, ideally, the people that you're sending to, that's enough for them. They're going to open and go, oh my God, 20% off. I can't wait to click through. But if you send 20% off every single day, what are the chances they're going to still click through after the fifth summary says that over and over again? And so I don't think there's anything wrong with your message being consolidated, as long as it's a good message that people want. Again, back to my text message example, when my friend sends me a text, it's got like 5 different emergency topics in it, I definitely want to click to read more, because there's going to be something really juicy inside. And so I think everyone should keep that in mind as we're looking at summaries. And again, the AI is always learning, the things that we're kind of laughing about today may not be the case forever. I remember these like really creepy AI videos of like Will Smith eating spaghetti, and it was just like his face turned into the fork, and it was like so creepy. That was like 5 years ago, and now they can make these like flawless AI videos of celebrities, which is creepy in its own right, worthy of another webinar that's not about email. But I think it's really interesting to think about how fast and how far the technology has come.
Yeah.
And so maybe these things that we're stressing about right now are going to be less important the next time we do this. One thing that I want everyone to remember is that the future is a partnership between us and AI. I get the impression AI is probably not going anywhere anytime soon, as long as there's water for it to drink. And so we don't really want to talk about beating the machine. It's not a violent proposition. The AI is not your adversary. It's a tool, just like any of the other tools. And so our job is to figure out how to best work with it and be able to leverage it to reach users and to make a better experience for ourselves as users. It's just learning from the signals. And so in my Gmail examples that I showed earlier, you can even tell Gmail like thumbs up or thumbs down, the information you pulled out was wrong or it was right. And that gives them a reason to go through and review and try to strengthen what they're doing. So your job as an email sender is strategy. The AI's job is just executing on that strategy. So if you understand why people are opening your emails and interacting with your emails and give them more of what you want, you don't have much to fear. And again, the goal here is just to please the human. The bot is just a cog in the machine, or the entire thing. And we really wanted to get to the heart of the matter. On our marketing team and I were talking about, it's kind of ironic that as we're making the shift to AI everywhere, email is very much becoming like, finally, this is about reaching the people. Just stop thinking about the AI and think about what the people want behind it. And that's something that I have been talking about for years. It's something that many guests in our channel have been talking about for years. And so I do hope this is a time for senders to take a look at what really matters and what their own users are telling them for how they can inform their own program going forward. When you create an email experience that's so valuable, like you're sending me a sandwich or a box of shoes, I'm very much inclined to open that message. And so if something isn't as exciting as a sandwich, if it's like a transactional message that you need to send, that's a terms of service thing, I know that comes up a lot. Maybe email's not the best one for that. Maybe you need to put that message somewhere else. Or maybe you need to think about the best way to give people what they want while meeting your business goals. Anything to add about that partnership, JT?
No, I think that's great. Like yeah, I'm not gonna add. That was perfect. I'm not gonna add anything. You're great. That's
okay. Thanks. So for your AI era resolutions, taking it from the top, I would say audit your authentication. I know this should be table stakes and should have been for several years, but somebody sometimes gets a hold of your login and changes things around on you, or something, stuff just happens behind the scenes. And so it doesn't hurt to audit regularly. It's very easy to do that. You can use a tool like aboutmy.email, which our pals, the Atkinses, maintain and build, which it's such a boon to the industry. Thank you guys so much for building that. If you are
amazing.
Not using that tool, you can send yourself an email from your ESP and just pull the headers. It's very easy. If you don't know how to do that, you can literally Google like how to analyze my headers, and it'll tell you if SPF, Kim, and DMARC are present and passing. What else is there, JT?
For tools wise,
no, just as far as these resolutions for what to do in the AI era. Yeah, you don't need to come up with tools right now.
I would love to do those next two. For reading your own emails, make sure that you're sending stuff that's engaging. Exactly what this slide says. Make sure that you want to read your own emails. Like, what are you doing? What are you sending? How is that coming across to your audience? Make sure you're writing it for the right audience. Think about that too. Like, what is your brand trying to represent? What is your company trying to do and put out there? So make sure that is all there. Check the summaries, throw it into an AI and tell it, hey, like summarize this for me. Make sure that content makes sense. I know we've talked about it a little bit where we talk about like, kind of things within the email, the HTML and stuff like that. Make sure that if there's an image in there that they can at least describe what that image is, like whether through an AI summary or the text description of it, like that's important too. So just make sure you're paying attention to that. And one of the hills that I think is becoming my hill to die on is the friends and family test. check it in different places. Make sure that it's good and viable for everybody. I'm a very unique email user, I think, and I think that of Thomas, I think that of Allison, like I think that of M and Jesus who are in the background here helping out. Like everybody does their own thing with it. Everybody behaves in different ways. Everybody's doing different things with it. So make sure you're going out and asking, how it feels for them, and make sure, if it's people within your own company that can see that it speaks to them, it speaks to everybody. I know sometimes it's death by collective thought, that we can come across some stuff, but there is a good portion of it that you can evaluate and can do something. So I just wanted to, call out those two because I think it's super, super important. Thank you for letting me do those.
Yeah, getting that second set of eyes. It's so important because you can look at something that you've written a million times and you're like, oh, chef's kiss, it's perfection. And someone is like, what are you even saying right now?
Makes no sense to me.
Yeah, and I also love the last one, reading your own emails. I think it's so important. And that's one of the things that, deliverability consultants will do is like sign up for their customers list and just see what it looks like. I've just signed up. You've told me, give me your email address for monthly deals. And then you start sending me daily emails and there's a mismatch there. We're not really putting the whole thing together. And so I love that one. And then last but not least at all, perfect that preference center. It's just the easiest way to send people the stuff they want us to ask them. And I feel like there is this kind of reluctance to like show your hand and ask, like people think it's cheating or embarrassing a little bit to say like, hey guys, what do you want from me? But that's perfect. It shows that your email is a two-way communication. I think that shows that you're very willing to hear what your users want from you. It's easier to ask than to guess. And so if you have that option of asking people what they want from you and giving them control over their own experience, I think that is just way easier than only giving them the option of unsubscribe, report as spam, or like suck it up and just stay on the list indefinitely. We're trying to get those human signals, and that's a very human thing to do, to ask for feedback and take it into consideration. Anyway, Thomas, we have hit it. You get to take over now.
I feel like I'm that little bot. It looks like the little bot from gosh, that's my favorite movie, Wall-E. Eva. It looks like Eva. That's her name.
Yeah, she's a cutie.
Oh, yeah. All right, y'all. So many good takeaways from this stuff. I wanted to add in some stuff that we had talked about over on the podcast, but they covered it so dang well. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna let them do this.
Sorry.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. No, hey, there was just there, and we'll you can definitely listen to that episode too as well. If you can watch this as well for all of our visual people, but if you're an audio and visual person, I highly recommend checking out that episode because we tackle a lot of this stuff. So, awesome, ladies and gentlemen, make sure last call. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. This is the last moment to send in questions for the Q&A, so we'll take a look at those in just a moment. All right, let me pull those up. Also, massive thank you to Emily for dropping help articles and blog posts. They're pinned, so you should be able to view them throughout the chat tab. And massive thank you to Jesus for helping out for some deeper technical questions. So, all right, okay. Oh, goodness gracious. Okay, I have to. This question, we have to start from. I reluctantly have to start with it, but we have to address the elephant in the room. And I apologize to Goody and JT for bringing this one up, but we have to give a big old no to this one. This person asked, how about for cold emailing? Any suggestions? No, don't do that.
Yeah, our big suggestion on that one is to not do it. I understand that that's an integral part of many businesses, but our official position is don't. Email is a permission-based channel. Cold email is not going to perform well. There are other channels you can use. I'm not on the LinkedIn team, but I imagine there's a way to reach out to people through there that's a little bit less intrusive or make an organic connection. But email is not about that life. We're not here for that. Permission comes first. If you're sending to people who have not opted in, it's going to go poorly for you. We're not just saying that because we're mean and don't like it. It just does not perform well. It's not sustainable. It's going to hurt you. And so you need to find some other channels for that. I'm sorry, Marie. I know this is probably part of your job and it's something very important to you. And you're welcome to try it. Sometimes we have gotten into situations where we're saying, you know what, I can't physically stop you from doing that. So, holler back at me. Let me know how it goes. Go try it out. And if it works for you, great. I'm sad, but good for you. But from what we've seen, it just is not a sustainable thing to do. If your business relies on that, it's not going well. You need to have connections with people who really want to hear from you, and they want to get that stuff. And as someone who loves email, works in email, and gets a lot of unsolicited email, it bothers me, because I'm like, you guys are always saying my mail is well targeted, and I'm like, if that's true, why'd you send it to me? Because I don't want it, so it can't be that well targeted. And so that's just one of those challenges. I understand from a realistic perspective, it may never go away, but I will never like it. Anything to add, JT?
Oh yeah, I mean, that's probably the easiest way to teach, a certain part of the audience how to find that complaint button. Because that's definitely what we see. So it's not something that we just say like, oh, it's don't do it. Like, yeah, there's a lot of practical and user-based reasons we say don't do it, but then it does come down to that too, like that people will find that complaint button. People do, in droves, go in there and complain about those types of emails a lot of times. So like that's just an easy way to hurt yourself. So and we know it's a challenge. We know, a lot of times you're trying to grow your business, you're trying to, get a larger audience, you're trying to do a lot of things in that way. And it's better to find those other avenues and figure out a way to do some of those things, because it's just so dangerous doing it this way. Because once you get that bad reputation and you start getting those complaints coming in, it's a massive hole to dig out of.
Yeah, and sorry, not to beat this dead horse. Marie gets the point, and she appreciates honesty, which I'm so glad. Sorry to have gone on and on, but just one thing to keep in mind is, if someone has not explicitly asked to hear from you, how do they know that your message is like a really good one and not just a random piece of spam? Because if it's something I don't recognize, it's all bad to me. And so if you don't have that existing relationship, there's just really no way for them to surface that you're actually valuable as compared to other people. So anyway, sorry, that was closing thought. Thank you, Marie, for being such a good sport.
All good, all good. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, moving on, shall we? Okay, and then JT or Allison, if you see something before I do, call it out and I'll throw it up on the screen. Okay, let me see here.
Okay, I think Eric has a good point. He says, related to his previous question, given everything we talked about, sorry, I missed your previous question, I just saw this one. If you include pixel tracking, will the AI penalize you for using pixel tracking? Because tracking usually means marketing measurement. No, the email box providers are not in the business of trying to shut down marketers. Their big problem is dealing with spam. We have heard over and over again that Gmail, Yahoo, Microsoft, like upwards of 90% of the messages they get are not just cold email, but like very malicious email. And so their primary goal is stopping that sort of a thing. They're well aware that their channels are used for marketing. They're totally fine with that. They understand we need to track things like engagement. The pixel is not an issue. For newcomers who may not be aware, the open tracking pixel in an email message is just one little 1x1 invisible image that gets loaded when a message has been loaded. In the post MPP world, and with Gmail doing their own kind of image prefetching, the open rates are not as valuable as they used to be. However, I think there is still some utility in them because they help you determine inbox placement. If you have a higher open rate, chances are more of your mail is in the inbox. But no, they're not penalizing you for wanting to know how your messages perform. They're penalizing you for things that their customers, your mutual customers, don't like, and things like reporting mail as spam, like JT mentioned earlier, deleting without reading, ignoring mail over a long time. Those are the things that will really hurt you. I wouldn't sweat it about a pixel unless you're doing something beyond the basic open and clicking, but the AI is not judging you for that.
Love it. Thank you, Eric. All right, moving on. Okay, pull that one down. Okay, and then I like this one a lot. If I can find it, I just lost it. Where? Oh no, where'd it go? Oh, here it is. It's from Esther. Esther wanted to know. I know the suggestion of whitelisting senders is an old school recommendation, but do you think whitelisting still helps with AI filtering?
JT, I see you nodding, and sorry, I already started blabbing. I think anything that lets the mailbox provider / the application know that this sender is a wanted and expected sender is a good piece of advice. We were kind of having this debate in Email Geeks, which for the uninitiated is an email specific Slack community. Google Email Geeks Slack, and you can apply to join. It's free. And everyone hangs out there, including Laura Atkins, and she's very helpful. And we were kind of debating, like, are we just going to have this return to old school best practices where we're like, hey, add me to your address book. And again, I'm not going to say that's like your fast pass to the inbox, but I do honestly think some things like that are still, they still have a utility, and maybe even more so now, because that is a little thing that you can do as a recipient to say, like, this is something that I expect to get and I want to receive it. And so I don't think it hurts. Obviously, I cannot confirm with 100% certainty whether that is passe, but I don't think there's any harm in including it. And I do think there's some boost. JT, do you have any recent direct experience?
I wouldn't a little bit. I think it's one of those things that I always, the way that I like to talk about it is that whenever you start looking at reputation as a whole, it's not just a one switch, like, let me flip this up and reputation is good. It's a giant checklist of things that you and your customers, your recipients, can do in order to gain that trust and gain that good reputation. And every little thing you can check off is helpful. So yeah, a safe list, great. Like, there might be some providers that aren't looking at that safe list at all. There might be other providers that are using that as a great, as a great filter for, what emails are wanted and what emails are not wanted. And same goes for so many other things, like, all those other signals and all those other triggers that we're talking about. So safe listing is definitely one of those things that I'd say, like, keep doing it. There's definitely some company out there, if nobody else, like, AI, the ones that are using AI a little bit more, I don't know exactly what they're doing with it, but I know there's still people that are not using AI that still use that as a big part of their filter. So maybe they are, maybe they're not. They haven't told us. Nobody's come out and said, yes, we're doing it this way. But at the off chance that they're doing, you're going to get some benefit there. And you'll also get benefit with those that are still not diving super deep into the AI filtering era and the way that they do their email filtering. So just to throw that out there, keep doing the right things, keep doing those safe things. This is one of them.
Yeah, agree. Let's see, any other questions here? Eric asked again, he's asking more about pixels. He's saying that one email with pixel tracking ended up in spam and another didn't. There's only so much you can glean from test sends like that. Even a test send is filtered based on prior engagement. It can be very easy to assign a small difference like that and say, oh my gosh, this is the thing that changed. It's possible that one change made the difference, but typically that's not the issue. At a service like Mailgun and our sister company Mailjet, we include those tracking pixels. We don't have a problem with our messages hitting the inbox due to the inclusion of those. So definitely keep testing it. I'm not going to say that one change is not the thing that threw you over the edge, but pixels on their own are just not the big problem when it comes to inbox placement. So I'm sorry, having trouble, Eric. Send us an email and support can give you a hand if there turns out to be a deeper deliverability problem. Let's see, was there anything else?
Last one I liked was from I keep losing questions, goodness. This one
There's a
was
lot
from
of them.
Val. I love this one because Val wanted to know, what does Mailgun have an auto checker tool for DMARC to check to validate the records? Y'all, what are we using?
JT?
We're using our partner. We're allowed to say the partner, right? Yeah. So we do have a way to do that. Like, we actually, it's the way that I look at it and the way that I know we talk about it is not as a simple, like, check on and off, like, kind of thing. We want to make sure you're implementing it the right way. And while we can definitely have people that help, we have a lot of help articles. We also partner with Redshift, who does the DMARC records in and of themselves that we suggest within our platform. So while we don't have a public one that you can just go out there and say, like, is this right? Is this not? We want to make sure that you're implementing it correctly, and we want to make sure you're getting the help to do that. So we do partner with Redshift. They do have a record that they can help spit out that you can actually then go and consume the information that is coming back with that as well, because that's also very important. So if look for those kind of things. I know they have some public tools that are also available, so you can just go. I don't know if we have a link for that for their site directly, but we do know that they have some public tools out there that you can also use. And I would suggest doing something like that. Someone who can help with the not only setup, but then also to make sure that you're getting the feedback correctly for what's going on with the DMARC.
Perfect.
Love it.
Well, hold on. We had one more. We go to my thanks slide so everyone can see it because it's really cute.
Yes.
It's just me and a robot sharing a milkshake with my dogs. So I'm like pretty pumped about that.
Me and
That's our robot.
JT are the
Love it.
dogs. I'm the dog on the very far left.
That's Chewy.
That's great.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are out of time. So most importantly, I want to thank our amazing speakers, Allison and JT, for being here with us this morning. M's going to drop their LinkedIn profiles in the chat if you want to follow along with mine as well. You can follow along with us for everything Deliverability Academy related, also Emails Not Dead related. Allison, JT, any last closing remarks?
Just thank you so much for being here to kick this off with us. I hope that it was helpful. I know that some people may be hoping for like, give me that code that tricks the AI, but just like deliverability for all time, it just doesn't work that way. And I'm sorry, but it's also for the best, because if anyone could just trick the AI, the spammers would do it and we'd be in a much worse position. So I hope that this was valuable to you, and I hope to see you guys on the next one. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Robot Overlords, also. Thank you.
Yeah, we love you, AI. Don't take my job. Appreciate it.
Oh my gosh. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. And stay tuned for more Deliverability Academy. We'll see you in a few weeks. And make sure you listen to Emails Not Dead. You're going to be hearing these familiar voices. We just kicked off our season 7. We've been doing this show for 7 years now, which is wild. I'm excited to do more. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. You can rewatch this replay later. Come back to this page. We'll also send you an email too with the replay. So, thank you so much. We'll see you guys around and see you in a few weeks. Take care.
Peace out. Bye.